that relationship goes, but he's going to feel, I think Mr. Kraft is going to feel more part of the coaching situation.
Well, and I also think that Robert will be re-energized too. I think Jonathan the same way, and I think like we said earlier, they'll bring the analytics in, they'll bring and match that with the scouting. They'll do whatever they can to modernize and become that type of franchise in the NFL, and like a lot of the others have become, and they'll use that as a new energy within the organization. And the other thing, Steve, is they're competitive. The Kraft family is as competitive as they come. Robert and Jonathan understand the role of a head coach, the role of a general manager, and that's what has made them successful in letting Bill Belichick do what he did for the last 24 seasons. I think you'll see that same type of cooperation. Maybe they are a little bit more involved on a daily basis, just checking in as owners. But I also think that it's going to refresh them, re-energize them, and I think Bill Belichick will feel the same way. And Levin, I think you'll hear nothing but rainbows thrown at Bill Belichick because all these head coaches, worry about playing him, and they don't want the score run up and if he gets pounded too. And I'm also curious to see what kind of quarterback Bill Belichick ends up with in his next job. I think that will, as we've seen, I think it's a key to any successful head coach in the NFL. So a lot to come here. It's going to be interesting to watch it all play out.
Dan and Steve, I need you guys to stay right there. We just have to do an extend on your Zoom. But while we're doing that, I'll bring in Courtney right now. And Courtney, this is historic right now. I mean, it's part of one of those things that maybe we'll never see again. A coach who's got nearly 300 combined wins through the regular season and the postseason, and he's being let go.
And you know what? Even as a Chicago girl, right, you just know Bill Belichick is synonymous with unbelievable, unmatched, unprecedented when it comes to his run in NFL history. And I think that's why, even though we were all kind of waiting to see what was going to happen, it's still, it still stings a little bit. He's not going away, but he's not going to be here with us anymore.
I tell the people all the time, when I got a chance to talk to him once or twice over the time, over many times over the years I've been with him, and I would say, I thought you were going to not coach into your 70s, like Marv Levy, because he had mentioned that. And he said, Levin, I didn't know what 70 felt like. So therefore, I said, okay, I understand that. And that was one of those things where you can see him coaching, you can see him get re-energized. This is a coach that loves being around players and coaching.
And you know what? I think that even though he's not going to be here with us, we are going to be interested to see where he lands.
Yes.
The Atlanta Falcons are in the conversation, but there are like 6 or 7 other teams that could also be where he ends up.
And by the way, there's other teams now who are like, well, I don't like my coach that much.
We can make some room.
We can make some room. I mean, you good, but I mean, you're not bringing 19 straight winning seasons to the table. That's a little bit different now.
Now, I will say, in true Kraft family fashion, I do like the respect that was shown. There was no drama. They didn't let anything infiltrate from the outside and change how they were going to honor Bill Belichick, which is exactly how it should be done.
I don't know if I've ever been around a coach that commanded so much respect from grown-ups in a room. Meaning, like, when he walked into the room, we all were like, okay, let's sit up straight, let's get to attention. And I'm sure that's what happened when he was with his players as well, because when he was, whether it be college players or pro players, when he showed up in the room, they were all like, oh, Coach Belichick's here? Well, I better be at my best behavior.
I better get it together.
I better get it together. This is not a guy who plays. And his discipline, his love for winning, his attention to detail is something that other coaches should strive for because it's never seen before.
And I think that those are the things that are going to make this franchise miss him so much, right? Because in a coach, it is the things that you cannot teach, all of the things that you just mentioned, the things that were inherently Bill Belichick. That is what they're going to miss.
They just was live television. Do we have Danny and Steve? I just want to make sure we do before we go back to them. Okay, we don't have them yet, so Courtney and I, we can handle this, no biz problems whatsoever. So you're going to see this happening. They're going to have a press conference coming up between Bill Belichick and Mr. Kraft. It's going to happen at noon or around that time. We've seen people who are a little bit older in a relationship and they have to part ways. We're talking about a couple that's been together for 24 seasons and they've had a ton of success. What is it going to be like, do you feel, just from a normal person standoff where, okay, I got to part ways with somebody that I care a lot about?
you know, it's going to take some getting used to, but the fact that they're doing it respectfully, that they're doing it amicably, they're doing it in a way that is going to allow Bill Belichick to still be celebrated, or as you, Dan and Steve were saying, he's still going to get his flowers today. People are still going to kind of be in a little bit of denial, like, man, he's really out here.
It's happening.
It's happening.
Do you know what's funny? People don't know this. Courtney and I have a desk like right next to each other. So it was every day it was a feeling of, do you think Lebanese going to go? And I'm like, no. Do you think Lebanese going to go? And I'm like, yes. And then this morning I was like, I think this is the day. I think he's going to go. This is the day. And it was one of those things where finally you got a feeling that it was going to happen today because it seemed to take so long. And when Bill decided that he was going to give all his other coaches the time off, I knew everybody was going to be on pins and needles. It's one of those things where this is a moment in time where you have to know where you were when this happened. And I know that I'm talking about it, but Bill Belichick is a one of one. And that's not a lot of coaches have that.
Absolutely. And because he is a one of one, and we know that he knows he's a one of one, it's also going to be an interesting, exciting, we miss you conversation when he goes on with that other team, because he is going to go show out where he goes.
Yes. So, and I'll say this to you coming from Chicago. You were there when Jordan left. Now we've seen Jordan and Pippen go. What is the next coach, the next quarterback? How much pressure are they going to have when they step in here?
Well, now I will say, even though you respect the moving on, you never really get over that.
Yes. It's a tough situation to watch these guys move on. It's a tough situation to watch everyone kind of just say, okay, this is what's going to happen next. And I'll say this, tomorrow there's going to be a collective deep breath, and then we're going to say, okay, let's move on and figure out what's happening next. Because what's next is what the Patriots have to worry about, so they can get back to where they want to be, not 4-13, but ahead of the group.
You know, people will take that breath now because Super Bowl's coming up, season's wrapping up. But when it gets time to ramp up, this conversation is going to be one to be had with that new person in place. Like that's, you know, so this will be a calm outgoing. Right? But when it is time, when it gets cold and we wait for football season to arrive and that officially marks that fall is here, we've got a new coach in place, all eyes on the turf at Gillette.
What was it like when you were covering the Jags, or you were in that Jaguars fold, and the Patriots would come there and you had to play the Patriots? What was that like for you?
You know what? I will say, it was a little tough. and listen, I love Duval. I love Duval County. But it was a little tough to cover them when competitors like the Patriots were going to be in the lineup. That was who they were. That was their opponent. We're like, oh boy, here comes Bill. Here come the New England has a reputation that precedes it in the best way. So even though, when you root for your team, you root for your team even on the difficult days. But when New England's coming, that means something. My Game of Thrones people will know when you say winter is coming.
Yes.
The Patriots are coming. Right. That was the feel.
So for those who are just tuning in on us right now, after 24 seasons, we're getting the word. The reports are now streaming in that Bill Belichick and the Patriots will part ways in a press conference later on this afternoon between Bill Belichick and Mr. Kraft. It's one of those days that you will always remember here in New England, just like when Tom Brady decided to move on as well. And as we're talking about it, we're getting the feeling that everybody has. Like maybe you didn't like the 4-13 season, maybe you didn't like the way things went with Tom Brady, but you did love that you had a coach that was able to bring you those 6 Super Bowl championships and was able to go to 9 Super Bowls and 19 straight winning seasons. It's one of those things that I think, as the kids who grew up in this area who've only known anything about boat rides and boat parades and everything, we're watching things start to change. And I feel, as things are starting to change, they will get for the better, but it's going to take a little bit.
And we all know, even though this season was tough, like this was a one-off.
Right.
This is not the norm. So nobody is holding that against them. So much greatness in all of the other seasons aside from this. It's like, okay, everybody has a little bit of a rough patch.
And I've got to ask you, what is it going to be like? I know for me, when Bill Belichick, if he does take another job, if and when, and they happen to come back into Gillette, and play the Patriots, I mean, I'm not sure how that's going to be, how that's going to be at all.
Yeah, there's going to be some conflicted fans in the stands, and that is an understatement.
What was it like for you to come here and see how much the fans love the football team, love Bill Belichick, love Tom Brady when he was here for the little bit of time? What was it like for you?
You know, even coming from a big sports town, I'm a Chicago girl, there is nothing like, I have never seen anything like the love for the New England Patriots, the love from the team, the dedication from the fan. Like, I have never seen anything like that. And we know Tom Brady has moved on, but like, he is very much still here. Like, he is a part of the foundation. I've never seen anything like it. Never. And the fact that now I live here and root for them, you know, I have friends who give me a hard time about it. So
how hard will you think it will be for someone to step in, say it's not Gerard Mayo, say it's not Mike Vrabel, say it's not someone in the fold, say it's someone who's got to come from outside the circle. How hard do you think it will be for them to step in, just people-wise, to step into something that's not in the circle and be part of this?
Yeah, I think that's going to be tough. Even if the person coming in is absolutely five-star, great, you know, record where they're coming from, it is going to be very tough just because of the person whose shoes you're stepping into. Like, you're stepping into the shoes of the best of the best. So even as you were great, it's still going to be really, really hard.
Yeah, yeah. I'll say this. It's going to be tough for any player, any coach to feel comfortable being the next person in. It's going to be tough for the players who are on this team right now to kind of adapt to a different coaching style that somebody else may have because, as you know, players get used to, I mean, one of the lines that they use down there is that you get used to being uncomfortable. You know, you feel comfortable with the uncomfortable. And that's something that players have gotten used to, and that's something that players have thrived on. I think it's hard for players who are on this team right now and they've watched the transition from one to the other, and now they've got to get used to something else.
But that brings us back to why Bill Belichick is the greatest. Because, as you said, the players get used to being uncomfortable, but uncomfortable is where you grow, which is what Bill knew and did well, which is why they had those 6 Super Bowls and had those Super Bowl appearances even when they didn't win it all.
And I'll say, like, if you get a chance to watch something that Bill's and the players will talk about, if Bill tells you it's going to rain that day, it's going to rain. If Bill tells you this is what's going to happen on that display, that's 100% going to happen. I've watched them in rainstorms practice because they knew it was going to rain in, you know, wherever they were going. And they would, you know, put the ball in a big bucket of water, and then they had to throw the ball and make sure they handled because they didn't want any turnovers. He loves Paul Brown. He loves about the practice. He's a historian of the game. This will be meaning we're at the brink of moving on from, I don't want to see the old timers, but I want to say guys who are in this league because we just lost Pete Carroll, guys who are in this league who are a little bit older, and they were bringing a little bit kind of that old feel of the game. And now, like, you know, Danny had mentioned analytics and everything, the way the game is going. I guess that's what's going to happen. But again, Bill's going to look for another job.
I mean, and we know that at some point, you know, this happens in every industry. You move on from, you call them old timers. We mean that with the most respect ever. But it's still hard to see it, I think, happen like in this one chunk of time. Because even during the show, my mom texted me like, what is going on? I feel like everyone's being let go. You know, I know she's not the only one that feels like that. And we know this is just the nature of the beast, but
24 seasons, it's hard to cover, but we're going to do our best right here as we look back on Bill Belichick and his coaching career with the Patriots.
Before devising the blueprint to one of the greatest dynasties in the history of American sports, the architect behind it, Bill Belichick, first started by scribbling a note, handing in his resignation to the New York Jets on January 4th in the year 2000, the day he was set to be introduced as their new head coach.
Due to the various uncertainties surrounding my position as it relates to the team's new ownership, I've decided to resign as the head coach of the New York Jets.
Later that month, the football world would be forever changed when Belichick showed up in Foxborough.
Hopefully this press conference will go a little better than the last one I had.
He's just someone I respect a lot. I think he's very intelligent. He's very diligent and hardworking. He's a student of the game, and he's driven to win.
This is a career highlight for me. It's a tremendous opportunity. I'm thrilled to be here and thrilled to be a part of the Patriots organization. I don't know if I can adequately put it into words, but I'm very happy.
I like him a lot, and I believe he's the most capable person at this point in time to help us win next year.
Belichick would lead the Patriots to unprecedented success, sustained over nearly a quarter of a century, becoming the first head coach in NFL history to lift 6 Lombardi trophies, alongside a 6th-round pick from Michigan. When Belichick arrived in Foxborough, he brought with him a 3-word mantra that would soon set the standard.
I just got to keep doing your job.
I'm just trying to do my job.
If everyone do their job the best that they can,
we got to do our job.
No, everybody's going to do their job.
In year 1, the foundation was laid in a losing season. Belichick and the Patriots finished 5-11 at the bottom of the AFC East.
Well, it's been a tough year because the results have been disappointing. There's no doubt about that. I enjoy coaching. I enjoy what I'm doing. I enjoy working with the players. And I know we're headed in the right direction. And I know we're going to get there.
Year 2 was the turnaround. Patriots went into the season with Drew Bledsoe as their undisputed starting quarterback.
Bledsoe gonna run it. Needs 10 yards. Oh, does he hit? Oh, my.
But in week 2, Bledsoe was injured against the Jets, replaced by 24-year-old Tom Brady.
When you do get your opportunity, you better be ready to take advantage, especially how competitive this league is and how good every team you play is. I think I just take a lot of pride in moving the sticks and scoring touchdowns. I think as long as you win the game, I think that's the mark of any great QB.
8 weeks later, Belichick was faced with the fateful dilemma: hand the keys to the offense back to Bledsoe, former first overall pick who had already taken the Patriots to 1 Super Bowl, or stick with the kid who went 5-2 in Bledsoe's absence. Belichick rolled with Brady. The rest was history.
Set to go. Snap. Ball down. Kick is up. Patriots! Patriots win! Patriots win in overtime! 16-13! And it's a mob scene on the snowy field of Foxborough.
The Cinderella season ended in storybook fashion, from the Snow Bowl to the Super Bowl, where the Patriots pulled off the upset over a St. Louis Rams team regarded as the greatest show on turf that was poised to repeat as Super Bowl champs.
Snap, ball down, kick up. Kick is on the way, and it is good! It's good! It's good! Adam Vinatieri! Well, New England, you have the best football team in the world right now.
And that was only the beginning. 2 years later, the Patriots would be back in the big game. They'd go on to win back-to-back titles over the Panthers, then the Eagles, in Super Bowls 38 and 39, respectively.
The Patriots are going to be Super Bowl champions again. 24-21, back-to-back world championships, 3 out of 4. Yes, it's a dynasty.
In 2007, Belichick and the Patriots flirted with perfection. 16-0 through the regular season, 18-0 on their way to Super Bowl 42. And then the helmet catch. The Giants would get the better of Belichick and the Pats again 4 years later. The franchise's 4th title wouldn't come until Super Bowl 49, when Malcolm Butler stepped in and saved the day against the Seahawks.
Russell Wilson extends the hands, he has it. Wilson, quick throw, and it's intercepted! Intercepted by Malcolm Butler! Butler has it at the 1! Malcolm Butler stepped in front of the throw! No way!
2 years later, the Patriots doubled down on dramatic finishes, trailing the Falcons 28-3 in Super Bowl 51. That set the stage for the greatest comeback of all time.
2nd and goal to go from the 2. Toss sweep right for James White. Cuts it up with the right arm. Cuts it upfield. Driving forward. Diving to the goal line. A touchdown. And a title for the Patriots.
I can't believe it.
They have completed the greatest comeback in Super Bowl history.
Once again, the Patriots paraded through Boston on board duck boats. Attempting to go back-to-back the next season, the Patriots fell for the Philly special and watched Nick Foles and the Eagles capture their first Super Bowl crown. But Belichick and Brady, they'd be back for one more title run, fittingly against the Rams.
The dynasty continues. How sweet is this one of all the ones you've had?
It's sweet. It's sweet, Jim. Everybody counted us out from the beginning of the season to mid-season, but we're still here.
The following season, the Brady-Belichick era came to an end on a pick-6 against the Titans. The Patriots bounced from the playoffs on Wild Card weekend. 2 months later, Tom Brady bounced for Tampa Bay. As TB12 went on to raise another banner with the Bucs, Belichick struggled to find an adequate successor under center in New England, initially turning to former league MVP Cam Newton, then drafting Alabama quarterback Mac Jones, and finally going with Bailey Zappi after benching Jones 4 times mid-game in 2023. In all but 1 season since Brady's departure, the Patriots have finished under 500. Their only trip to the postseason, an early exit, blown out by the Bills in the wild card round Mac's rookie year. Ultimately, the man with the most 13-plus win seasons in league history closed out his tenure in New England with the first 13-loss season of his NFL head coaching career, capped off with a loss to, of all teams, the Jets.
The Patriots, who will end this season at 4-13. Their worst season since 1992.
Covered in snow and surrounded by cameras, he walked off the field still unsure of his fate as he passed some of the Patriots faithful who stayed till the bitter end to show their love for a legend.
Breaking news this morning. It is officially the end of an era. We've been waiting this week. We've been kind of peeking through the window. We knew it was coming, and now it is official. Bill Belichick parting ways as head coach for the Patriots. Now, Belichick has been the constant here in New England, which might even be an understatement. He took the job back in 2000. The 71-year-old and the Patriots have won a total of 6 Super Bowls together. And with the most recent season, it's no wonder the two are parting ways. Now, the Patriots, they finished the season with an embarrassing 4-13 record, but we're not holding that against them because Belichick is one of one. The worst record of Belichick's coaching career, but still amazing. We have our WBZ sports director, Steve Burton, in the house right now, and WBZ's Levin Reed to keep this conversation going. Guys, we knew this was coming.
Yeah.
But just for it to really be real, what is the reaction?
And I'll say this, we also have Dan Roach. He's down at Gillette Stadium on Skype right now as he's waiting for things to happen. It's one of those things we talk about it, Steve, where until it happens, I didn't think it was going to happen. Right. But in the back of your mind, you knew it was going to happen. But you waited for the day, and I think all of us who covered the team thought that, well, maybe Thursday was going to be the day because we knew it was going to drag out into the weekend, and to see it happen is one thing.
Yeah, to see it happen, and the thing is, you didn't want this to drag out into next week, but you knew it wasn't going to happen on Black Monday either because
they have too much respect for him.
That respect, exactly. But you're talking about 24 years. Here's a guy that's been around for 24 years with this organization. It was Belichick's way, it became the Patriot way, and all these guys got in line and followed suit. And nobody was bigger than Bill Belichick, and it's interesting to see now how this press conference is going to go down. They'll have mutual respect for each other, and then all of a sudden they're going to part ways. And don't forget, Jonathan Kraft had a major role in this decision.
Absolutely, he had a major role.
Pretty soon Robert will turn the team over to Jonathan. Jonathan wanted to go younger. They want to change the culture down there, and I wouldn't be surprised if Gerard Mayo is the next man up.
Let's throw it out to Danny. And Danny, you're the resident analytics, the guy who's doing as much fantasy league as anybody else. They're going to need to get a quarterback. I think that's something that we all think they need. Talk to me about the future and getting that position kind of set up, and the guys that are out there. The Patriots right now have the 3rd pick in the draft.
Yeah, and I think Steve was kind of leading up to that point. And let me just say, Lev, I think the Crafts wanted to do this properly. They Sunday came. They didn't want to do it on Black Monday, which is called around the NFL where a lot of head coaches get let go. Too much respect for Bill. A breathing day on Tuesday. They met yesterday, and then they came to the conclusion. And I think now he had $25 million, a one-year deal left on his contract. I'm sure that was taken care of by the Crafts and what led to this, so they mutually agreed to part ways. And now with that said, it looks like the heir apparent is going to be Gerard Mayo, who was almost promised the job by the Crafts as they went about the season. I think the Crafts felt this way back in Germany after the loss to the Colts. It really stuck to them that this wasn't going to work any longer. And I think, it probably was tough for them to do, but at the end they said this is the best for the organization. So they'll now go forward. I'm sure they'll bring in a lot of analytics people, a lot of numbers, what have you, which Bill Belichick was old school. Nothing wrong with that. It worked for him for so many years. I think they'll match that with scouting, personnel, and what have you, and they'll go about their business. And the most important part, I think, is going to be that number 3 pick overall. Who's the franchise quarterback to bring in here along with Zappe if they bring him back, or Mac Jones or a veteran? But I think you get your coach, whether it be Mayo or even a Mike Vrabel who came up at the last minute here, but I think it's going to be Mayo. Put him with a quarterback that can lead you, and that's what we see now in the NFL. The Houston Texans are a blueprint, which we saw a new head coach and a new quarterback this year. C.J. Stroud has led them to the playoffs, and I think that's what the Patriots are looking at going forward here. Refresh, re-energize this entire organization, and go from there.
I know we have Christian Fourier just chimed in on the line. And Christian, how are you doing first and foremost? Good morning. Sorry to wake you, but then again, I'm happy I got you up. He's already up. He's always up. I know.
I've been up since 4:30 waiting to see your pretty face when I turn the TV on.
Well, you know what's funny?
That's how I start my morning.
Exactly. And by the way, I pay him so well so that we can all these conversations. Hey, Christian, first and foremost, what was your reaction? I think we all saw it coming, but maybe at the same time you didn't see it coming because you didn't want it to happen.
Yeah, I would say have been a conflict of emotions a little bit based on let me just pull over here real quick so nobody gets hurt. Yeah, it is interesting because we've been talking about it for basically the whole season, and everybody has their opinion about what's going to happen. Should it happen? Can he coach? Is it his fault? The reality is, if you look at kind of like just the season and what he's done in the past, it's Kraft. I mean, this was bound to happen, and it's crazy that and all great things do end. But I felt like it was just time for a change. Now I don't know if change means a total scrapping of everything and everybody that is there, but I do think a new voice maybe a new philosophy, maybe a new just schedule. I mean, like football players they're so routine. Everything is routine. Now, whoever takes over, whether it be Mayo or Vrabel or someone to be named later, they will install all their own protocols, all their operating procedures, and that could be a little uncomfortable for some people, but it could also be real exciting.
Sure.
You know, because you've been doing one thing one way forever, and now you're going to try and do it a different way. So, and I think a lot of people look at even Mayo probably say, well, he's a carbon copy of Bill. If I, you know, my opinion is that Mayo probably looks at a lot of things that Bill does and respects them and would like to use them, but he's going to alter it, change it, tweak it, put his own personality on it. So as much as people say, well, you want something totally different, the foundation of who Mayo is you don't want to change it, but you do want a little bit of spice that he would bring to the situation.
I'll throw out a question. I'll give it to all three of you, and I'll start with you, Steve, first. What is it going to be like in August when you get down there for that first trip? Oh, it'll actually be early July now because you get the extra week and a half. When you get down to that first training camp, and it finally kind of sinks in that Bill Belichick's not here and you have a new coach. Whether the coach has been there or not, you have a new coach in a new ways.
Well, it's so important that if it is Gerard Mayo to get off on the right
I didn't hear any question.
Okay.
I'll ask you again in a second.
It's so important if it is Gerard Mayo.
Same, Christian.
To get off on the right foot.
Okay.
And that's, Mayo is very structured. He's very organized. So if training camp does come, and when it does come, they will fall in line. These guys will have it all planned out. It won't be last minute stuff. It's going to be very sharp and very controlled. But they want to change the culture down there, and that's what they'll do with Gerard Mayo. It's going to be strange, though. I mean, we're talking, you know, here's a guy that did it for 24 years, and we were so used to watching Bill Belichick walk out, and, you know, and Christian and Dan, you guys remember this? Belichick would walk out with his whistle and wrap it around his finger and, you know, and bring out the staff with him. But now it's a whole different thing. But Gerard Mayo, and it's important for Gerard, if it is Mayo, I know I'm getting ahead of myself.
Sure.
To surround himself, he's a defensive-minded guy, okay? He's going to bring in some offensive guys that are very smart, very probably analytical as well, to surround himself with that so the offense gets going. They want to get this offense in check and get it going.
I'll say this to you, Danny, and we are getting ahead of ourselves, but let's talk about next season. How important is it for the team, regardless of who's the coach, to start out?
We can't hear Eric.
You can't hear us? Okay, I'll talk to Steve about it. How important is it for them to start out on the good foot, to make sure they get out and not have a replica of how this season started?
It's so important, and Gerard knows that. I mean, Gerard was taking notes. You know, he's been under Bill for a long time now, and he knows what to do, and he knows what not to do.
What not to do.
You know, and so when these guys walk on the field, they want to be sharp. It's important that they get the quarterback right. If you think about this, right? You look at the Patriots. Who are their big stars? There's no big
stars,
especially on offense.
Yeah, the offseason is going to be different.
So they want to bring some shine in. They want to get a name quarterback, someone, you know, that the team, when you walk into the pro shop, oh, I want his number.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I want to buy that jersey.
I want to come back on camera real quick because I want to ask Steve a question. I want to get your reaction on it.
Yep.
What's it going to be when you go to the preseason games and you get a chance to interview the head coach and it's not Bill? And he's not going to give you the reaction that Bill has given you in the past.
It's well, it's going to be different. Let me start by saying that. You know, during the preseason games, I have to do the halftime interview. And if it's Gerard, I feel like, you know, we'll be able to hold a conversation. But Bill was great to me. Don't get me wrong.
Sure.
Bill was great to me. It's just, it was time for a change.
Right.
And that's the direction that, and I mentioned Jonathan Kraft. Jonathan Kraft had a big hand in all this because they want to get younger, they want to get sharper, and they want to become more relevant.
Do you think it's tough for the franchise, for the faithful, for all the involved to see change happen? Because I remember it was March 17th of a couple of years ago where it was Tom Brady when he decided that he wasn't going to be with the Pats anymore. And I thought that was just loops of things. Do you think it's hard for these things to make changes like this?
It would have been harder if they were winning.
Right.
At 4-13, people were like, okay, it's time to move on. And it's so important, let's not forget that Robert Kraft was, you know, when they let Tom Brady go, Robert Kraft wants to get this thing right.
Right.
When they bring in the next guy, he wants to make sure, he knows he's letting go of the best coach ever, and he wants to make sure that he gets this right coming into this thing.
I've got to ask you, and we keep going back to that game in Germany. You were there. How important was that game in Germany for what the outcome is today?
Excellent point. So the game in Germany, the Patriots have been preparing 6 years for this game in Germany. And they came away with 6 points. So the Patriots, it was a home game. I was there. There were a ton of Patriot fans there, and the Patriots were embarrassed.
Yeah.
Robert Kraft was angry after that game and flew home on his private plane and was like, you knew after that game that changes were coming.
Okay, and I'll bring back Danny. I think you can hear me right now, Danny. And some of the questions I was asking, I think Christian's here also. I'll start with you, Danny. What do you think it's going to be like when you get down there in that August or maybe even late July, and I'm begging you to kind of wear some type of sunscreen because you end up like a lobster anyway. But you get a chance to see what is that atmosphere going to be like for the players and for the media, for the fans. Is it going to be one of those hold your breath situations?
Well, I don't know. I mean, you're going to have a new coach here soon, right? So they're going to be able to go through the offseason program with these players to get them ready, to get them prepared for training camp. So you get that out of the way, the mini camps and what have you. But I think for everybody involved, it'll just be different, right? For 24 seasons, it's been the same, basically the same schedule, the same program, the same practice. I've always preached to everybody, come down and see training camp practices because you see Bill Belichick teach from start to finish. That's different. Now, there will be, I think, a renewed feeling, a refreshing energy just because it's different, right? Anybody that's playing the game or covering a team for the same amount of time, there's a new regime brought in, it's just different. So I think there'll be that initial energy and then that comfort, then the preseason, and then the game starts. So I think down here, at Gillette, I think there'll be a lot of first. I think it'll be a little different, a little strange, when Gerard Mayo or Mike Vrabel or whomever addresses the media every day, things like that. But then after that, I think you just get ready and you get to see a new coach and everything else. I think the other thing, too, it'll be a refreshed crowd. It'll be maybe a re-energized crowd. And I think that's kind of how everybody's looking at it. And I think if you had to start a slogan, it'll be a brand new start. Thank you very much, Bill Belichick. It's been awesome. Thank you, Tom Brady. It's been awesome. But it's time for a new start.
I'll ask you, Christian, because you've been with Seattle, you were with the Patriots, and then you went to Washington. What is it like as a player when you go from team to team and you have to start all over again?
Well, like I said earlier, I do think, you just listen to Dan talk, it is like a little mini adventure, and not to sound goofy, but it is like everything is new. And Brady went through it. You could see that. Like Brady, who had been in the same place for such a long period of time, literally went through the same thing, and he embraced it. He jumped in with both feet, and he just made it his own. And he was the only new guy. So I do think there's an aspect of a new voice, and it doesn't mean it's a better voice. It just means it's new.
Sure.
Like and the first thing that everyone's going to have to do, and the worst job in the history of the world, the 2 worst jobs in the history of the world, following Tom Brady as a quarterback and now following Bill. It's like the expectations are like the standard. It's like it's not even reachable. So you start with that, and then the media will always kind of compare the two and say, well, Bill used to do it like this and Brady used to do that. It's like it's almost sickening because you're conditioned to think that way. But even me, when I was just thinking about it, like I used to interview Bill like every day in the afternoon on WEI. I played for him. We've been talking about him and covering his postseasons forever. So there is this, I don't know, like how do you critique like the smartest guy in the room? Like he always knows more than you. Like how do you do that? So for me, it would be interesting and fun to really critique, analyze, and discuss a whole new set of fresh perspectives.
Christian, you mentioned the voice. Yeah, it'll be a new voice, but it will be a familiar voice if it's Gerard Mayo. And Mayo's going to have to separate himself now, if that's the case, to, okay, I'm not the assistant coach anymore. Now I become the head coach. And, of course, I may be getting ahead of myself, but if that's the case, yeah, the players are going to know that voice, okay, but they're going to have to look at Mayo a little bit different now because it looks like he may be the guy running things.
I get the feeling that's already happened a little bit because we've heard reports that, it was ruffling feathers, or so to speak. And then to hear Mayo talk about it afterwards and say, well, that's supposed to happen.
Yeah.
That'd be a good thing that's going to happen. Exactly. I get the feeling. Exactly. I'll ask you this, Danny, and as you get ready for this press conference and you're getting ready to see, do you think you're going to see emotions from Bill Belichick and Mr. Kraft as they sit down and talk about the 24 years and how they came to this situation today?
Well, let me start with, I think Bill Belichick is great at keeping his emotion the same all the time. So if we do, I think it shows you just how special the moment is and what it's meant to him to be the head coach of the New England Patriots. I think Robert Kraft, yes. I mean, we've all seen over the years just how emotional Robert can be about it. Talking about many topics, his charities and Tom Brady and what have you. I think this is going to be a very, very emotional day for Robert Kraft. Let's face it, those two, came in this. There's been pictures out of them driving, in the car together when they first got here 24 years ago, and now for them to be saying goodbye. It's not easy. It won't be easy for Robert. I know that. He may have to pause several times to get through it. So I think, to me, this press conference is going to be fascinating because there's going to be a lot of emotion between the two. And I'm sure, knowing Bill and everything that's happened here, he's going to be very respectful, very thankful for everything that's gone on with this Patriots organization and with what the Kraft family has given him over these last 24 years.
Can I just jump in real quick? Let me just hijack this segment real quick.
Go ahead.
We're all, Levin, we're all assuming that, there's a mutual parting of the ways, right? And Bill is going to go coach somewhere else. We saw Pete Carroll retire, but he stayed in-house with the Seattle. We saw Nick Saban say, I'm just done. I'm done-ski, Levin. He said, I'm done-ski. I don't want to coach anymore. And now you have Bill. Is it a fair question to ask, maybe Bill announces today that he is done, that he is retiring?
No,
I don't see that.
I don't see that happening at all. Sorry, Christian. By the way, your hijacking has been hijacked.
Yeah, exactly. Let's take over the hijacking situation.
Yes, and by the way, Christian, you've never
right now.
Yes, and Christian,
right now. Christian, he's going for Don Shula's record.
Yes,
he's coaching with his family.
He's going to take this caravan.
He's going to take this caravan somewhere else to some other city and coach. There's no way in the world. So he did not get. Let me make this very clear.
Tell him, Steve.
Don Shula did not like Bill Belichick. Belichick is out to become the winningest coach of all time. I went to Don Shula years ago, wanted to talk to him about Bill. And Don Shula goes, I will never talk about that man. I don't want to have anything to do with him. I'm not going to talk about him. So Bill goes, okay, he's going to be that way. We're going to not only break his record, I want to shatter his record.
There you go.
And so, no, Christian, I do not see him hanging it up.
Okay. Listen, you guys are jumping ugly on me for me just asking a question. This is not professional journalism. I'm feeling very threatened and attacked by you guys.
You mentioned the word hijacked.
He mentioned the word hijacked.
And Christian,
I would just say this.
Hold on a second. Wait 1 second, Christian. You said just a few minutes ago that Bill was always the smartest man in the room. Well, that's not you right here, okay? So let's just go with that.
I would like an apology if it happened. I think it's fair to say that at least, would you at least say that it crossed his mind?
No.
He's best friends with Nick Saban.
No.
He loves, maybe he ends this thing and he just walks away.
No.
Okay.
I just think a couple of things that he wants to coach, and it's not like he's going to spend time with his family because his family's with him all the way through it. So he has it right now with him. So who knows if his family's going to go with him on the next step? But right now it feels like he wants to coach. He's been rejuvenated every year. I
will say this, Christian. It's going to be interesting to see how many opportunities are offered him, and will he have a huge selection of where he wants to go?
And I'll ask you this, Danny.
Well, if you're him. Let's just call it a 3-year deal with a 4-year deal with a 4th-year option, right? And it's a team option. Because I don't think you sit there and you go play the long play, developing a culture, creating a new team atmosphere, creating a new mindset, developing and finding the right players. That takes time.
Sure.
Unless, because I see it, if he does go, you basically take Brady's situation, right? The Tampa Bay Bucks. They had a lot of weapons. They had a great defense. They had a crappy quarterback in Jameis Winston who couldn't stop coughing it up, okay? So he jumps into a great situation because he was a missing piece. So if I'm Bill, I'm finding another situation like that where there's a ton of talent, but there's just a lot of just self-doubt. insecurities, bad coaching decisions, bad just everything, and he comes in and takes these already talented players, disgruntled as they may be, and disenchanted as they may be, and he completely flips it. That would be the situation I would look for, personally, if I was him, because I don't know if I want to go through what I just went through, which was going into the draft, hoping that I'd pick the right quarterback, because all you have to do is look at Mac Jones's class. Are there any great quarterbacks in that class?
No.
There aren't any great quarterbacks. So there was 5 taken in that class. So the odds are that you miss. So instead of gambling, I want a sure thing.
So you're saying the Los Angeles Chargers are probably the #1 team that he's looking for because you already have the quarterback, however you feel about the quarterback, but you already have the quarterback. You already have a high-powered offense, and he can fix the defense.
Is Bill an L.A. guy?
Listen,
he's a winning guy.
Isn't everybody an LA guy? Yeah, thank you, Levin.
He's a winning guy.
Step down. Yeah, good point.
Well, how about the Las Vegas Raiders? How Belichick loved that facility. We raved about it several times when we were there in Vegas. And he's got, Jimmy Garoppolo, if he can get healthy, coming back as his quarterback.
Oh, come on, Danny. Jimmy Garoppolo's a piece of glass, Danny.
Well, Mark Davis and the history of the Raiders franchise, and then if they draft a quarterback and what have you, then maybe that's the destination for Bill, too.
Danny.
Now who's the dumbest person in the room?
Well, hold on.
Thank you.
Well, I'll tell you why
Really?
I'll tell you why that would be strange. Because I think Bill wants to bring Josh McDaniels back with him. And so for Josh to go with Bill back to the Raiders?
He's not doing that.
I don't know.
But and I will say this, by the way, this is what it's like when all of us are together in one room. This is basically what it's like. So if you're watching and you're seeing this crack on one, this is basically what it's like. What is it going to be? Right. We're assuming that that coach is going to coach again. What's going to be for Kraft to see Bill take a job?
Well, it was like seeing Tom take a new job. That's why it's so important, Christian and Dan, for Robert Kraft to get this thing right. Because Robert Kraft wants to go into the NFL Hall of Fame.
Right.
It's very important to him that he gets there, and he let the best quarterback get away. Now he's letting one of the greatest coaches get away. That's not a problem if you get it right.
And you start to win again.
I would also add, though, I think one of my questions was what happened with Brady, like a cautionary tale for him, and therefore he would never do it again, or the other side of that since he's been through it, he's okay with it. The awkwardness lasted for 3 years, and Brady came back. And everybody loves each other. There'll be a statue. They're having this huge thing in June where they're going to sell tickets at Gillette Stadium to honor Brady. So I would think that experience that Kraft went through with Brady, winning a Super Bowl, I think in some weird way prepared him for being okay with letting Bill go as well.
Okay.
I can see that.
Look at you getting intelligence out of here.
You can see that, huh?
Oh. I also think that might be also part of this whole process, the respect, the way they've gone about it, not being let go on Black Monday and what have you. I also think they probably talked to Bill and want it to all be okay when he leaves because, then maybe Bill comes back in June for that night, for that ceremony. So I think that they certainly have shown, I think the Krafts have a respect to Bill Belichick and try to be, hey, we appreciate everything you've done. We're just kind of going in a new direction here. Thank you for everything. And I think they hope that there's no anger between the two sides for years to come until it thaws down when it, as things do over the years. But I think they wanted it initially to be okay. And I think, Christian, that's a part of it too, what they learned from the Tom Brady experience.
Christian, thank you so much. We're going to wrap you guys up. As Danny, you're at Gillette, get inside, get a good spot. And Christian, drive carefully, please, because I understand you were talking to us.
I pulled over.
Okay.
I pulled over.
Your intelligence is just growing as you talk to us more and more. It's a fantastic thing to listen to.
At least you're the smartest guy in the car.
You're the smartest guy in the car.
Listen, for the record, if I'm right, it was a wild shot, okay? It was a home run ball, okay, that I was shooting for. If I'm right, I want an apology. I want a public apology from all you guys.
Okay,
I love
you'll get one. You'll get
one. I love you all.
Absolutely.
All right, bye, guys.
Absolutely get one. Steve, we got about 2 minutes, Steve, I've got to ask you, just going forward, and as we start to look at this franchise, what is it going to feel like for fans, for people going down there? We know that the Patriots on the road were the most popular team for the longest time because you couldn't get a ticket here.
That's right.
What is it going to feel like for fans when they finally can come in and say, okay, the road to getting back to prominent, how does that work?
Well, they want to, a lot of fans are still tied to Bill.
Yeah.
Okay. But with a 4-13 record, it was time to move on. So now it's going to be interesting to see who they bring in here next. It looks like it's going to be Gerard Mayo. Time will tell if and when that happens. And they want to see this team get off to a fast start. If it gets off to a fast start and they watch Bill do his thing somewhere else, they won't have a problem with it as long as the next guy builds and changes the culture and the whole direction is moving up.
Is it weird to feel excited and sad at the same time?
Yeah, no, that's natural.
Sure.
That's natural. I mean, let's not forget what Bill did here.
Right.
I mean, 6 Super Bowls, 24 years.
19 straight winning seasons.
It's been unbelievable.
Yeah.
But now 11, it's time to say goodbye.
Time to say goodbye.
Time to say goodbye.
Thank you so much. Hey, by the way, how you been?
I'm doing
It's good to see you, man. How you been? I haven't seen you in so long.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Major event today.
It's a major event. So I don't need to see you at major events. You can call me.
I will do that.
You can call. I don't need major events to come across my life or our lives for us to see each other.
I understand.
Okay, I'm just saying that. Yeah. Courtney, Steve and I are going to over here. We're going to run and jump in.
This is what we do.
This is what we do when we're together we don't see each other that often.
I am enjoying this, I will say. And I know you all have been too. So make sure you stay with us here on CBS News Boston and WBZ. We'll have more coverage on the morning mix. Where will Bill go? What will the Patriots be like in his absence? Is he going to go to L.A.? Is he going to go to Las Vegas? Is he just done ski? Maybe. Dan Roach, Katrina Kincaid, Steve Burton, Levin Reed, all the ones you love. They will be on the morning mix talking Bill Belichick, saying goodbye to New England. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Another round of heavy showers and downpours and very gusty winds. Even right now, we're still at least on a dry break, a very brief one, as we do have more rain on the way. Gray skies for now. Temperatures have remained mild, but the next thing that we are watching is going to be this late Friday night into early Saturday morning system. That's going to bring a lot of wind, rain, and even some snow showers here to the area, and some renewed flooding as well, and also the chance to see some wind damage as things are already very saturated. We know that there's going to be flood watches in place already as we continue on with some of these heavy showers on the way. Today, we do catch a bit of a dry break. Temperature is going to be heading into the mid-40s this afternoon. We get today and tomorrow to sort of take a little bit of a rest, but it's not enough time with all the incoming downpours that we have heading into Saturday. High temperatures today going to be in the low to mid-40s, so we are on our way to a mild stretch of weather. In our Big Full forecast, we're going to be talking more about the rain to expect, and that's not the only system we are watching in the short term. In our 7-day forecast, we also have another next weather alert as we head into Tuesday and Wednesday. Now over to Brianna for a check on traffic.
Alyssa, we got a broken down vehicle on the Mass Pike right now in Newton. It is causing major delays for drivers. It's got the left lane blocked as you make your way eastbound into the city. It's right at the on-ramp from Route 16. This has stop and go traffic stretching all the way back to 495. Your drive time officially over an hour, Kate.
All right, Brianna, thank you. And we, of course, are staying on top of that big breaking news this morning as the Patriots and longtime head coach Bill Belichick are parting ways after 24 seasons. We have live team coverage all coming up straight ahead on the Morning Mix. Breaking news this morning. It's officially the end of an era. Bill Belichick and the Patriots are parting ways. Belichick has been the constant here in New England, of course, since he took the job back in 2000. The 71-year-old and the Patriots have won a total of 6 Super Bowls together.
And with this most recent season, it's no wonder the two are parting ways. The Patriots finished the season with a 4-13 record, the worst record of Belichick's coaching career.
CBS Sports now confirming the ESPN and NFL report that Bill Belichick and the Patriots are parting ways.
So we want to bring in Steve Burton, sports director here, and our man Levin Reed to kind of break this all down. Steve, I want to start with you. Okay. What do we make of this news? Let's take this in turns here. First, what do we make of the news? Do we think this was, I know they're saying they're parting ways mutually.
Yep.
Do we buy that, or do we think that, no, the Patriots are pushing him out?
I think the Patriots are pushing him out. I don't think Bill Belichick wanted to leave. Sure. But I think the press conference will go down in a classy way. This is epic, guys. I mean, absolutely epic. We're talking about a guy who was here for 24 years. We're talking about the greatest football coach of all time. And Robert Kraft, big decision. And let's not forget, he let Tom Brady go. He wants to make sure he gets this thing right. The question is who they're going to bring in next. It looks like it could be Gerard Mayo. They want to make sure they get off on the right foot here, but this is going to be absolutely epic at this press conference because both sides are going to have to handle this in a very, very classy way. It's going to be very emotional for Robert Kraft. Okay, here's a guy who speaks with his heart, but he's a businessman. Jonathan Kraft had a big part in he wanted to get younger. They want to change the culture down there. They're coming off a 4-13 season, and one of the biggest things that happened this year was that loss in Germany.
Sure.
The Patriots had prepared 6 years for that game in Germany. It was a home game, and they were embarrassed in Germany.
Let's bring in Mike Reese now, who broke this news this morning. Mike, are you with us?
There he is.
Hey, Mike.
But I can't hear anything.
Oh, he can't hear us right now.
Well,
Okay.
Oh, okay. We're going to leave Mike for now.
Levin, I want to get your reaction. Obviously, you've covered the Patriots for years and years. What were your thoughts this morning?
Well, I went back and forth all week long, and then it was this morning. You know, I still keep my hand in the water there, and I was like, someone had mentioned it. Like, this is the day. This is the day. This is the day that something's going to happen. Because if it wasn't going to happen today, it probably wasn't going to happen. I think the Jonathan Kraft thing is very important here because we're watching a changing of the guard all the way around, whether it be from the quarterback to the coach to maybe the owners sooner than later. So you get a chance to see that, and all of a sudden the Patriots didn't look like the team that we've known. No. We've all watched the team and bragged to our friends that we got the best special teams, we have the best quarterback, we're bringing boats and everything like that. And now for the last 4 or 5 years, everybody else has said, "Aha, you're not that good." I mean, so for all of us, it was kind of tough. This is a change to say, let's get back to the promise. Let's get back. And I will say this, and the Pittsburgh Steelers and how they did things, and even though they went on down years, they never went this bad.
No, they didn't.
And that was a thing that I think they were comparing themselves to. You know, we're still better than the Steelers. We have more championships, but we didn't have these pitfalls that we're having right now. And you saw it with Pete Carroll, where it was just starting to fall. They gave Bill a huge rope here.
Right.
And now they're 4-13, and it didn't look like it was getting any better.
So, Steve, I have a question. What do you think about the press conference with Bill Belichick, where he clearly wanted to stay and was almost challenging the organization? What's your reaction?
So Bill's a very smart man. All right, he's very smart. So he wanted to put it back in Robert's lap. Okay, Robert, if this is going to be a decision, it's not going to be my decision leaving. It's going to be your decision leaving. But let's not forget, Robert Kraft didn't forget this either. Teams in the past used to come to Foxborough fearing the Patriots.
Absolutely.
It's like, we don't want to play them in Foxborough. We don't want. They had an unbelievable home record. Do you know how many games they won at home this year? One.
This was
one game.
All of a sudden, this was everybody's homecoming.
That's right.
All of a sudden, this was everybody's homecoming, where they came here and they were like, well, they're a pushover.
Yeah, they put a W on their calendar right there.
There were so many games. I feel like there were 4 or 5 games this season where the Patriots didn't score a touchdown. Yeah. You know, like that's something that can't happen.
No, not good.
Let's get back out to Mike Reese. Mike, can you hear us? So, Mike, you broke this news this morning. Tell us, were you expecting this? What is your reaction to this report?
Mike, can you turn your mic on? We can't hear him.
I don't think you can hear us. It's okay.
Hey, Kate. Hey, Liam, Steve, and Levin. Sorry, I couldn't hear you too well. I sort of want to say, being down here at the stadium, there's a surreal feeling down here. You know, there's certain days you walk into the facility and it feels different. You know, like almost like the ground is shifting under your feet. Reminds me of the day that Tom Brady announced that he was leaving the franchise. That wouldn't be back after 20 years. Same thing here, because Bill Belichick, a sort of a championship pillar to what they've built here. And so in terms of reporting the story, I would say this is something that ever since Bill Belichick spoke to us at 7:30 Monday morning, you knew that it was a sensitive situation where there was a meeting with Robert Kraft and then subsequent meetings with Robert Kraft. And the sense was that it was going to end this way, but you never knew, you know, if maybe there was a chance it could turn at the last minute. I think we said it, Steve, after the game, like a Hail Mary type situation. Didn't make it there. After 24 years, I think both sides feel like a fresh start is probably the best thing for both of them. And I think that's going to be reflective in that we'll see both Robert Kraft and Bill Belichick together today in that news conference at 12 o'clock Eastern.
Mike, real quick, how much emotions do you think you were going to get a chance to see from Mr. Kraft?
Unfortunately, I don't think Mike can hear
my
it.
bad.
So,
Sorry. Okay.
Mike Reese, who broke the story this morning from ESPN, thank you for joining us. Steve, I want to take that to you in sort of 24 seasons, 6 Super Bowl titles. At some point, it would have felt like this man was untouchable. What made him, or Robert Kraft and the organization, make this decision when, again, this would have been unthinkable just a few years ago?
Losses.
Yeah.
Losses. You can't come in. Robert Kraft is a competitive person, okay? He's a business guy, and he competes not only, in sports, he competes in business, and he wants to be top dog. And he has been for so many years. So they're not used to losing. And now they want to bring in a guy who's also not used to losing to turn this thing around. It's going to be interesting to see who they bring in next. But, yeah, it came down to losses. And there was a time where Jonathan and Robert, during the game, you see them sitting in the booth. And it was almost like they had trouble watching the game.
Yeah.
They had trouble. There were 2 games that they didn't even go to on the road.
Wow.
There were 2 games. They didn't go to Pittsburgh, and they didn't go to Denver.
Well, they were hard for the fans to watch.
Right. And that's when you knew, like, uh-oh, something's happening here.
All right, we want to get to Dan Roach. He is at Gillette Stadium this morning. Dan, let's get your reaction here first.
Well, I kind of, in listening to Levin and Steve and Mike Reese as well, I think Patriots fans should understand that this wasn't an easy decision for the Krafts, Robert and Jonathan Kraft. And it goes back to that Germany trip, as Steve mentioned. They had so many people there. It was almost like a Super Bowl for Robert, and things did not go well. That kind of stuck, and they said, okay, we're struggling offensively. We can't get anything done. And as the season went on, I think they realized that it was just time to say goodbye. They wanted to do this respectfully. So the season ended Sunday. Bill did his presser, and he put the ball in the Krafts' court by saying, I'm under contract 1 year at $25 million, so that's going nowhere. And then the Krafts had a meeting with Bill on Monday afternoon to discuss the situation. I think the cooler heads kind of thing prevailed. They took Tuesday off. Wednesday went back at it again, and they came to the conclusion that it was best to mutually part ways. I'm sure they worked things out as far as the money is concerned with Bill. $25 million is a lot, but I'm sure for all he's done for that franchise, for the way this franchise has grown here, I think it's certainly worth it. And I think they're going to have a mutual respect for each other at this press conference at noon, where Bill says, thank you very much for 24 years. Robert, I'm sure, will be quite emotional because that's the way that he is in saying goodbye to the greatest coach who ever lived. But I think it's time and down here, re-energize the fan base, re-energize the franchise. Will it be Gerard Mayo? I think he's probably the front runner. Or Mike Vrabel, who was let go by Tennessee and was here to be inducted into the Patriots Hall of Fame this season. Those 2 guys, keep an eye on them. But I think that's kind of the way things unfolded here, and it's just a historic day that we've come to in now saying goodbye to Bill Belichick after seeing that years ago with Tom Brady.
And Rochi, that's the question of what's going to happen with the Patriots head coaching position. What do we think is next for Bill Belichick? There are some open positions around the league. Does he jump right back in and go down to Atlanta or down to Jacksonville?
Yeah, I mean, he's made it clear several times, Liam, down the stretch here that he still wants to coach. And at 71 years old, he's refreshed. He'll be re-energized no matter where he ends up. He loves to coach. It's who he is. It's what he's all about. And, in being with this team every day, players will still rave that Bill will see things that they can't see, especially on defense. And this play is going to unfold this way. And they're like, what? And it does. So he teaches. You watch him in training camp. He's constantly teaching these players. So I think that's all part of it when it comes to Bill Belichick. So he's going to coach somewhere. Now, I think he's going to see what's out there. There'll be owners out there that will court him. And I think there'll be opportunities, and Bill Belichick will be coaching again. He wants to go after that Don Shula record and break that. But I also think he wants to coach when it comes to what he does. He was born to coach, and it's what he is. As far as what else is going on with this situation, let's listen to what Christian Fourier had to say about Bill Belichick and this whole situation unfolding.
The reality is, if you look at kind of like just the season and what he's done in the past, it's Kraft. I mean, this was bound to happen, and it's crazy that and all great things do end. But I felt like it was just time for a change. Now, I don't know if change means a total scrapping of everything and everybody that is there, but I do think, a new voice, maybe a new philosophy, maybe a new just schedule. I mean, like football players they're so routine. Everything is routine. Now, whoever takes over, whether it be Mayo or Vrabel or someone to be named later, they will install all their own protocols, all their operating procedures. And that could be a little uncomfortable for some people, but it can also be real exciting, you know, because you've been doing one thing one way forever, and now you're going to try and do it a different way.
And Kate and Liam, I think that there's going to be, as Christian alluded to, a refreshing, a re-energizing of this franchise. There'll be analytics people brought in. Bill, you know, he had some analytics guys, but he was more old school. I think there'll be a whole new division here in Gillette Stadium of people working. There'll be a youth movement, I think, as well, and the coaching staff. I think it's all part of a re-energizing, maybe a brand new start for this Patriots franchise, and I think that's exciting for a lot of people. And for Bill Belichick, thank you for all he's done for 24 years, those 6 Super Bowls. It's been a heck of a ride. I think that's what fans and all of us will be saying as they say goodbye to the greatest coach who's ever done this.
All right, Danny Roach, live for us in Foxborough. Thank you, Dan. Well, in the past, Bill Belichick has commented on how the Patriots make their decisions, saying the team's best interests are always top of mind.
Football decisions are based on what's best for the football team. That's what we've always done around here. That's what we'll always do as long as I'm here. That will never change. We'll always do what's best for the football team. That's what it's all driven by.
Oh, so are we going to miss those press conferences?
I'm so used to that voice.
Not at all.
Lord. It's funny because I remember they would say, well, why don't you go down and ask this question? I'd be like, I can actually tell you the answer now.
Yeah, right. Ask the answer.
Yeah.
You know what the answer is going to be.
Guys, we're going to be covering this all morning long. Bill Belichick and the Patriots are expected to speak at noon. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Our top story this morning, big breaking news out of Foxborough. The Patriots and head coach Bill Belichick have decided to part ways after 24 years. This comes after back-to-back disappointing seasons. Belichick's legacy, of course, will live on forever. Over the past 2 decades, he has led the team to 6 Super Bowl victories, 17 division titles, and 9 conference championships. Belichick now has 333 wins all time, second only to Don Shula. and he will likely be looking for a new team to continue his coaching career. Going to be talking about this all morning here on WBZ.
But first we want to turn and pivot and go to Alyssa, because Alyssa, we are watching a storm headed our way tomorrow.
Yes, so once again, we cannot catch a break. Now, today and tomorrow is going to be our couple of driest days that we have for a minute here. 40 degrees on the current temperature. We are staying dry for now with gray, cloudy skies. Winds around 15 miles per hour. Those are going to increase as we get closer and closer to the weekend. For today, though, we do stay dry. High temperatures hanging out in the mid-40s this afternoon. We go to clearer skies in the overnight hours as temperatures drop into the mid-30s. But we are under a next weather alert once again for this incoming storm system headed our way for this weekend, late Friday night into early Saturday. And it's going to present a lot of the same issues we saw with the last system that brought us heavy rain, flooding issues. Already seeing some flood watches out across the state and coastal flood watches, as well as high winds along the Cape and islands, and especially the coastline. So we're going to be seeing a lot of the same issues, with flooding being another concern as we get closer to the weekend. As far as intensity goes for the upcoming rain showers, it's going to become more intense as we head into the overnight hours and early morning for Saturday. So let's time this out here. Big system coming our way. We're going to stay dry for most of the day on Friday, and then by 9 p.m. now we see this system approaching. It's going to bring heavy downpours, also some snow showers on the north end of this, and by 2 a.m. Saturday morning, this is when the intensity really starts to pick up and it becomes more widespread here. We'll see reflectivity really picking up for more intense and heavier downpours by 5 a.m. Saturday morning. The good thing is this should be moving on out of the way by late morning on Saturday. So we will see this start to clear out pretty quickly, but as that does, we're going to be preparing for another system moving in Tuesday to Wednesday that has us under a next weather alert once again. So in the short term here, we've got a couple of days, Thursday, Friday, to stay dry with temperatures in the mid-40s, becoming more mild on the air temperatures heading into Saturday, but we're getting ready for those heavy showers overnight Friday into Saturday morning.
All right, Alyssa, thank you. Well, from the storm tomorrow to the storm at Foxborough today, fans starting to respond this morning.
WBZ's Katrina Kincaid is live at Gillette Stadium with reaction from the fans. Katrina?
It's definitely feeling like an end of an era, as we've been saying for many fans, especially some young fans. I mean, even myself, Belichick's the only coach I've ever known. To put it into perspective, I mean, there are people who were born and have gone through college now with Belichick as his coach. So I checked out social media to see what people are saying. A lot of people saying that he is, you know, the greatest coach of all time. People saying that they're thankful for everything that he has done for the Patriots organization, the football that they've been able to watch because of him. We do know that there was talk, you know, we had said about him leaving after this devastating season before, where the Patriots just could not get to break a lot of times, but the news still shocking to many people online who've just gotten used to Belichick as the coach. They're saying it's going to be just straight weird next season, seeing the Pats without him on the field. Fans are now wondering if he's going to retire or go to another team. I know we've heard our sports reporters and anchors talking about that this morning, but as we do know, Robert Kraft, Bill Belichick, will be giving that press conference to the media at noon, so we'll take that live when we do have it. At Gillette, Katrina Kincaid, WBC News.
All right. Thank you, Katrina. Our coverage continues ahead. Former Patriots player Christian Fourier joins us live right after this. We continue to follow the breaking news this morning. Coach Belichick and the Patriots parting ways today after 24 years together.
We want to get out to Christian Fourier. He joins us live right now with his reaction. You played under Coach Belichick. What's your reaction to this, Christian?
Well, I guess, after like literally preparing for this in my own head for the past, I don't know, 2 months, you really don't think it would actually happen. But here we are. So I guess I'm not surprised. Even like on Sunday during our pregame show and our postgame show on WBZ and Patriots fifth quarter and sports final, I think we all kind of collectively thought that this would be the end. And if you don't think that it was going to be the end, I just think you're too emotionally attached to the situation. You don't want to believe it's even possible. But I feel like it was time. And it just felt like even yesterday with Pete Carroll basically resigning but staying in-house with the Seattle Seahawks, Nick Saban, after all his national championships, like a good friend of Bill, he stepped down. You felt like Bill was next. It was like the last shoe to drop. And now, I guess, there's no real conflict of emotions. Now it's just, okay, what does it really look like? Does he still want to coach? And if he does, where is he going to go? And then who replaces him?
Christian, I'm curious, what do you think that since you've been in the locker room, what does a coaching change like this, of this size, do in the locker room and do to the players?
I think there's a lot of players on this team in this locker room that are probably happy. Maybe they were in the doghouse. Maybe they felt like Bill didn't give them a good enough chance. Maybe they felt like, they weren't special enough. Who knows, But new coach comes in, fresh set of eyes. Everybody starts from scratch. So whether you were a disgruntled employee or whether you were, the star of the team, everybody has to earn their spot. Everybody has to earn their credentials, and everybody has to produce. So the new coach, the new staff, really, because it may be a whole new staff, is going to come in and evaluate every single player on that film, on that team, look at every single game and decide on whether or not those players fit the new coach's philosophy, what they want for a team, how they want their players to look like, and how they want them to act. So everybody starts over.
Christian, Steve Burton here, and we talk about players coming in and coaches coming in being re-energized. Think about this. When Tom Brady left, he was re-energized when he went to Tampa. How do you think re-energized Bill Belichick is going to be when he goes to his next job?
I do think there's some obvious fear and trepidation that goes with going someplace completely new and foreign to you like Brady did. But I also feel like it's like a little mini adventure. And I think if you go into it with the understanding and just be open to everything is new. Your drive to work is new. The people you see, the restaurants are new. The stadium is new. The fans are new. Like everything is new, and you're seeing it for the first time. So there's some excitement with that in my book, as opposed to, the mundaneness that existed, here for 24 years. Not saying that it was bad. They had a lot of success for a lot of time. But if I'm going to start over, listen, I think that you have to just be open to just every single experience that you're going to encounter and just be excited about it.
Christian Fourier with WEEI, thank you for joining us here. We're going to be right back with much more.